Hi beautiful YouTube family, Lisa A. Romano here, the Breakthrough Life Coach, and today I want to give you guys some tips on how to deal with and how to talk to a narcissist, because we need coping skills when it comes to people who are narcissistic, because they will run circles around our very kind, empathetic, codependent minds. The first thing I want to do is acknowledge my friend Kathy here. I acknowledged her in my webinar the other day. Kathy, for those of you who don't know Kathy's story, we grew up together, and oh man, I get a little emotional thinking about Kathy. She was so full of life, and in this picture we were on our trip to Puerto Rico, and if it wasn't for Kathy's light and it wasn't for Kathy being so vivacious, I would have never ever taken that trip as a 19-year-old girl in college. I was too afraid. Now these kids they're going on Cancun at 16, but whatever. But back then, we graduated in 1983. Kathy was way out ahead. Although she was someone who struggled with feeling worthy, she was overweight and never got her father's validation. It was terrible. And she actually passed away at 37 from an aneurysm. And like I said in my webinar the other night, when I was standing at Kathy's coffin, I made a promise to her that I was going to live for the both of us. And I believe that I'm doing that. And so I know Kathy would be proud of me. And she would be very, very proud of the coping skills that I've come up with that help deal with narcissists, because certainly she had to struggle with a narcissist or two in her life. So, I have a couple of notes here that I want to share with you. So the old rules that we're trying to break are that when we were around narcissists, we were very vulnerable. So we lacked boundaries, and we cared about other people's reality of us. Okay, those are the old rules. I can't even read my own damn writing here. Oh my God. Okay, they could say we were unconscious that when we were in conversation with the narcissist, we were actually seeking their approval, but we were unconscious of it. And so I found a way that if I just tweaked the old rules and created new rules that were in opposition to the old rules, I could really deal with the narcissist pretty effectively. So I want to share those ideas with you. So now, when I deal with the narcissist today, I absolutely have to discern, first off, that I'm actually dealing with the narcissist. Now, that's not judgment, dear one. Calling someone a bitch or an a-hole, I won't say the word, calling someone an a-hole or calling them a name is judging them. But discerning what type of vibration they have it's like you're a compass. That's all. You're not judging anyone. So if you're in a room full of people, or you meet some new friends or friends of friends, and you notice that there's one friend in the group that is very, cares only about the way she looks and is trying to talk to everybody else's man, and isn't she so gorgeous and all this, and she's so fine and she knows it, and she's really not asking anybody else about their day. It's all about what she wants, where she wants to go, what bar she wants to hang out in, what guy is talking to her, or whatever. So you're getting the vibe that, and my nose is running, forgive me. So you're getting the vibe that this is someone who can't see you. You're discerning that, dear one. You're not saying she's a biatch and she's this and she's so this. You're just discerning. You're using your compass, and every human being is born with a compass. And I mean, how do you think, birds know to migrate to the south? They have a compass, and I think it's in their eye. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I'm pretty sure that birds, the compass that they use to navigate is in their eye, which is fabulous. I'm going to do some more research on that to find out. So know that you have a compass, okay? But because you came from a dysfunctional home, your ability to tune into that compass has been corrupted because you've been taught to fear your feelings. You've been taught to fear turning within. So this coach is all about helping you learn how to tune back into yourself. So that's why I write my books, and I wrote my coaching program for those of you who want to invest in that. You don't have to, but those of you who can and wish to do so, it will accelerate your growth. But this is really the premise of my coaching. So when you're dealing with a narcissist and you decided, narcissist, dear ones, you cannot be vulnerable. You have to know, not letting them in. So know that when you're around a narcissist, make the decision to not go deep. Do not share your feelings. The other thing that I do that I suggest is that you hold on to all personal information. So if a narcissist starts asking you, information that is over the line, that is outside the weather, don't go there. The other thing that I suggest is that you protect your personal reality of them. So you don't want to tell them what you think of them. The minute you tell a narcissist, I think you're violating my boundaries, they will attack you. They are like piranhas. And because you subconsciously care about what they think about you, that's going to send your mind into a tizzy. Lots of times we offer personal information to a narcissist because we're seeking their approval. And unconsciously, they know it. That is the dynamic. That's the invisible dance we do. So it's really, really important that you go in knowing, not giving them personal information, not allowing myself to be vulnerable. And then when they ask you, how are you? It's your job, dear one, even if your life sucks in the moment, to say, it's wonderful. I'm doing great. I lost 5 pounds. I hit a little bit on the lottery, and my kids are really doing great. My daughter just got a scholarship. Whatever. Narcissists are so blown away when they're talking to you and they expect your life to suck, and you tell them everything's great. Now, of course, your life might not be great, and I'm not saying, someone out there might say, oh, Lisa, you're not being authentic. Well, you can't be authentic with a narcissist. You can't be, and you better learn how not to be, because if you're authentic with a narcissist who is disingenuous, they're going to chop you up. So you need some coping skills. And for those of you who disagree with me, you're entitled to your opinion. But for those of you who are struggling every day, to go to the workplace and there's a girl there that's a narcissist and she's pushing you around, I can almost guarantee you, it always works with me and it works with my clients that I coach with one-on-one. When a narcissist comes up to you and says, hey, where'd you get those shoes? I can't remember. Hey, where'd you get that dress? You know what? It was a gift. Hey, I bet you didn't buy that pocketbook because it's an expensive pocketbook. You say, well, actually, no, my boyfriend bought it for me, and as a matter of fact, he bought me 3 of them. I have 3 of these Louis Vuitton bags at home. The narcissist won't know what to do. The narcissist is always trying to tweak you and gaslight you. But when you go in with the shield, knowing not going to be vulnerable, not giving them personal information, not going to care about what they think about me, I'm going to care about what I think about them. Narcissist, out here, and you're not allowed to come in here. So you have to have a very clearly defined boundary, and the goal with the narcissist is to keep them out here. We also have to maintain our focus on how we feel. So I suggest also that if you have to deal with a narcissist, it sounds a little hokey pokey, but it works. Even if it's just, remember, your brain believes you. So if you go into a situation and with a narcissist, and you say, I'm going to wear a zip up and that's going to protect my heart chakra from this narcissist, your brain will believe that and you will feel stronger because your brain believes that. Carry crystals in your pockets. If your brain believes these crystals are going to keep me centered and balanced and the narcissist is going to be less able to knock me off balance, do it. Your brain will believe you and you will feel empowered by that. Remember, all the patterns of fear are stored in the amygdala, which is what I call the child's brain. So the more you act on ideas that empower you, the more you shift out of the amygdala and into a higher mind and feel more empowered. A narcissist is basically a bully. And when you learn how to protect yourself, and when you learn coping skills to protect yourself, narcissists can't pull you in. So another thing that I like to do and I have plenty of practice because I believe my father's a narcissist. And when that man calls me and he says, how you doing, Lisa? I go, great, Dad. How are you doing? Oh, you're doing great over there? Fabulous. I could have a flood in the basement. The kids could be pulling their hair out. They could be fighting. I'm not telling them. Because if I open myself up and say, well, the kids are giving me a hard time, I'm going to hear something negative like, well, I told you, you should have put them in line a long time ago. Well, maybe you shouldn't have divorced their father. So I'm not doing it. So every time you talk to a narcissist, remember, try to come off like everything's fine. Because the minute you let them in, they're going to find a way to zing you. They're going to find a way to gaslight you. Another technique that I do, and for those of you, I don't know if it's a Queens thing or what, but when I grew up in Queens, we used to say, I'm rubber and you're glue. And whatever you say to me bounces off me and sticks on you. And I use that with narcissists. So when a narcissist throws an emotion at me, what I do is I throw it right back. So if a narcissist says to me, how are you doing? And I say, everything's great. And I say, how are you doing? I replay the message back to them. And they say, oh, well, I hurt my ankle. I go, oh, that sounds terrible. That must be really terrible. Wow, you must be really frustrated. And I just keep the emotion, I keep the focus on the narcissist, because the narcissist is looking for a crack to get the focus onto me, and I won't give it to them. So dear ones, I really hope that this has enlightened you. Please let me know. You can leave the comments below. The last thing that I want you to say, though, is keep in mind that, if you're not a healed codependent, you're suffering from attachment trauma. And even though you're dealing with a narcissist, what you'll do in conversations unconsciously is open yourself up and be vulnerable and hope maybe this time my mother will see me, or maybe this time my dad will see me, or maybe this time my husband will see me. It's because as a codependent, we're looking to feel seen. But when you're married to a narcissist, or your mother's a narcissist, or your father's a narcissist, your sister, your coworker, your husband, your employer, whatever, when you're dealing with a true narcissist, their agenda is to not see you. You really have to come into alignment with that truth and become non-resistant to that. When you are in resistance to that fact, you suffer. When I was suffering the most when I was pissed off that I would have a conversation with people in my family and they didn't hear me. They replayed some message I didn't say. I'm like, what? I didn't say that. How could you hear that? And I was so in resistance to the idea that they weren't hearing the message. And when I finally moved into, okay, I'm going to stop resisting the fact that they can't hear me. I'm going to stop resisting that they see me as a bitch. I'm going to stop resisting their judgment of me. I have no control over their judgment of me. And I'm choosing to be non-codependent because I'm a child of God, or I'm a child of Creator, and I don't have to prove anything to anyone. And so I'm going to allow them, and I talk about this in my coaching program also, I'm going to allow others to stand in judgment of me. I'm just going to allow it because I have nothing to prove. Dear ones, my suffering ended. And so if you're involved with a narcissist, you're suffering. But you will suffer less when you become non-resistant to the fact that you're dealing with a narcissist. And you learn the tools that you need to protect yourself moving forward. And that is my hope, dear one. Because if you can protect yourself moving forward, what's going to happen is you're going to feel more energy in your own being. You're going to connect to the light within you. And then the world changes. And then you can go out and say, yeah, whatever, he's a narcissist, don't pay attention to him. Yeah, okay, whatever. Sorry you feel that way. You keep going. You keep growing in love and light. You keep spreading it's going to be impossible for you not to share your love and light. Yeah, okay, sorry you feel that way. Okay, sorry you feel that way. And then you teach your children to look ahead, to turn the cheek, walk away, and move ahead towards the light, So, dear ones, I hope this has inspired you, and please leave me some comments below. And if you want to know more about my coaching program, I will have the link to my coaching program in the channel description. So, namaste, dear ones. Bye.